Good afternoon. I am Professor Dr. K.N. Chaube, Associate Professor in Department of MBA at College of Engineering, IIMT. In the course of next half an hour or so, I shall be discussing about how to start an entrepreneurial venture. The entire discussion I shall be covering in 5 parts. Part 1, introduction. In part 2, I shall be speaking about plant location. In part 3, I shall be speaking about DPR, detailed project report. Part 4 and 5 I'll be covering legal aspects, then financials, plant layout, production, marketing, and such other details. Now, first part, introduction. Herein, to start with an entrepreneurial venture, we must first and foremost identify the product or service that we want to offer. It should be very clear that what is our objective. We want to introduce or produce a new product or deliver any new service. Next, we must look into the demand of the product public service, whether it is going to be seasonal or perennial demand. And as per demand fluctuation, we should be able to plan our entire production or delivery of product public services. Next, we must see that who are the competitors in this field, who are the people who are providing same product or same or similar services being delivered, because that will give us an idea as to how we differentiate ourselves in manufacturing of our product or delivering our services. Because we got to be different, then only the probability of success exists. Next, we must see as to what are going to be the similar utilities. From utilization point of view, what exactly other producers, other manufacturers are providing in their product, and how our product is going to be different in terms of utility, in terms of next, as we say, quality, in terms of further next, as we say, cost, and similarly for delivery of services also. Now, next we go on to the checking feasibility, whether it is feasible to produce such product or not, or deliver such service or not. We cannot simply whatever is on a drawing board or on paper plan to produce or plan to deliver. It has to be feasible on ground to produce such product or deliver such services. Next, we must see to it whether we have expertise to produce such item or deliver such product or deliver such service. Necessary expertise first and foremost requirement. Otherwise, our product delivering of services or manufacturing product will remain a non-starter. Next, we must see whether any foreign collaboration is required. For example, certain component, if required, which is vital in functioning of the product or service, then such component, if it is a foreign origin, we must establish foreign collaboration before we go ahead with the further launching of the production or delivery. Next, we must carry out the market survey to decide about the product as to how our product is going to be acceptable by the society, by the people at large, or deliver service, whether the people need our service or not. Next, the financial implication, how much money we require to start our venture. Then technical know-how, complete technical know-how in terms of starting from beginning till end, we should be able to plan. Then experience in the business line, just having technical expertise alone would not suffice. We must have experience in the business line. Then we should be able to prepare the project report. More about this we'll discuss a little later. Then now at this stage, we should determine what form of ownership we want to have of our company or firm. A little more about this we'll be speaking a little later. Then decide about the factory location. Where are we going to establish our factory in case it is a manufacturing of product? And more about this again a little later I'll be speaking. Then we should also keep in mind about the requirement of land, buying the land, constructing the shed, and also inviting quotation for machinery and equipment. Now at this stage, I would advise you to prepare your detailed project report. And about this DPR, again, as I've said earlier, a little later we'll be speaking more about it. Then now at this stage, let's go for registration / incorporation of a company or the firm, as we may say. Then we must prepare the project report. As I've told you, we'll be discussing later. Here is now I'm explaining to you as to how a project report, what all things a project report must include. It should include what kind of raw material we require, from where are we going to procure the raw material, then its availability as per our requirement, the cost aspect, and then the time it is going to take, the distance it has to be, from where it has to be brought into the factory location. All these aspects regarding raw material we must plan in our project report. Then about the machinery, what kind of machinery, what is the cost, how are we going to, what all other machineries we require in conjunction of machinery to be used. So all these plans again. Then manufacturing aspect, complete manufacturing details, right from the processing raw material till final the quality control, packaging, and delivery. We must plan every aspect in detail. Then supply chain. Once the product is packaged, then to the suppliers and retailers, and finally to the consumers. The entire supply chain, starting from raw material till final product being delivered to the ultimate consumer, must be planned methodically. Then sales network, whether it is local or regional or national or global, we must plan properly, so that at no stage there is a shortage of our product or service in the market. So these are the points we must cover at the stage of project report. Next, as I told you about the ownership, we must decide. Ownership, there are 4 types of ownership we can plan: sole proprietor, partnership, then company or LLP. As far as sole proprietorship is concerned, it is nothing but the person who is starting the venture. He is the sole and having full control over the business. It is run by one person, though that person can employ many more people, but he remains the sole owner of the business venture. And another very important aspect is that there is no legal distinction between this owner and the firm. Both are as one entity. An example I can quote here, like somebody is starting general store, or somebody is starting beauty parlor, or somebody is starting any kind of such business. So that is the sole proprietorship. Next, we have partnership and company. This is very, very important for us to understand whether we should go for partnership or company. So there are some 3-4 points, basic points which we must understand, and accordingly we should be able to take a decision whether we should establish a firm or incorporate a company. First and foremost, differentiation between these two would be regarding the registration. A firm is to be registered and it may not need registration. So in case of partnership, we have the flexibility. We can have the partnership firm registered, or we can go ahead unregistered also. The consequences are well known. That is, if it is registered, then we can sue, or we can get sued. We can be sued. And whereas if unregistered, then these two things are not applicable. Means neither you can sue someone for any default, or not someone can sue you in case of any default on your part. Whereas in case of company, the registration, which to be precise, incorporation is must. There is no option available here, incorporation or not incorporation. Incorporation of a company is must. Next, we have identity. The partnership firm has no separate identity, whereas a company has separate identity from its owners, from its founders. That means a company has its own legal entity. Now, next, the differentiation. A very important differentiation is going to be in terms of liability. In case of a company, the liability is only to the extent of unpaid value of shares, whereas in case of firm, the firm owners are fully liable to any damages or destruction or losses that may occur during the business. Then regarding audit, another very important aspect, that in case of a company, you got to appoint auditor within 30 days of commencement of incorporation or commencement of business. Whereas in case of partnership firm, it is not required. Rather, it is based on tax oblique audit oblique turnover that we'll be discussing a little later more about it. Next, we talk about the tax benefit. Tax benefit, it is in case of company, it is generally 25%, which is moderate for SMEs, whereas in case of partnership firm, it's about 30%. So these are the basic premises we must understand before we take a decision regarding whether we should go for partnership firm or we should incorporate a company. Next, we have the LLP, limited liability partnership. This is having the advantages of both, that is the company and partnership firm, both advantages. Means whereas a partnership firm has no separate legal entity, but LLP, limited liability partnership, has its separate identity, and therefore we can say that it has a deemed legal position, and thereby it is able to protect its founders, its owners from liability of the business. And liability is limited to only capital contribution, unlike partnership firm wherein unlimited liability is there. But on the downside, the public disclosure in case of limited liability partnership is must. And second major differentiation is that audit is must, but only if the turnover is more than 40 lakhs or contribution is more than 25 lakhs. So these are the basic differences. Now, next, as I said about the plant location, I'll be discussing. Let's get on to this. What are the nitty-gritties we must take into account while deciding about the plant location? About plant location, we must see that our plant is located as near as possible to the source of raw material, origin of raw material, obviously with a view to reduce the transportation time and distance turnaround. Next, the transport facilities. Wherever transport facilities are available, we must see to it that our factories are located keeping that in view. Then it should be nearer to the market, because the advantage is that if it is nearer to the market, we'll be able to quickly take it to the market, take the product or service to the market, and we can capture more market share, as well as the biggest advantage is in case our product is of perishable nature, then nearest to the market serves a major advantage. Then availability of fuel and power is very much required. That is, power supply is very important. Then availability of water, particularly in case of chemical industry or beverages, the availability of water must be looked into beforehand. Then climatic condition, like in case of textile mills, the areas near ocean is very, very important. So this aspect must be taken into account. Then financial and other aids like electric supply, etc., we must see to it. Then availability of land. Availability of land, as we are aware, their land is very, very important. Like in case of Jewar Airport, we all are aware that land acquisition had taken a lot of time, and particularly the government had to bring in an act like Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act 2013, making it a little easier, but still land remains a major hurdle. So this aspect must be looked into in advance. Then next we have the community attitude, like in case of Northeast states or J&K, establishment of power plant, there has been problems in past. So this aspect also must see what is the attitude of the nearby, the community living in nearby locality. For example, in case of hydroelectric power plant, we all know Tehri Dam, Sardar Sarovar Dam, we have faced problem. The country has faced problem. Then in case of thermal power plant near Sonbhadra, again because of huge amount of pollution due to coal burning, there has been a lot of protest from the local people. And in case of nuclear power plant, an example is before us, that is Kudankulam nuclear power plant. It was its construction started in 1988 and ended only in 2016. It got about 28 years it took. So therefore, these aspects, the community attitude, we must look into. Like in case of Kudankulam nuclear power plant, if we recall that 10,000 people were displaced because of this power plant, and people protested regarding diversion of water from the nearby dam. Then there was again problem about the hot water discharge in the nearby water source that resulted into that affected the flora, fauna, and maritime life. And particularly the agitation became violent, and a huge amount of delay took place in the wake of 2011 Fukushima nuclear blast, in which almost 2,000 lives perished, though up to 2018 this information we have. And though the direct link with the exposure, radiation related exposure, was definitely established. Now here is the Kudankulam nuclear power plant on the view you can see. Now next we go on to the third part, that is the DPR, detailed project report. In detailed project report, we must see following aspect as industry outlook. What is the outlook of the industry in which we are, with which we are linked with? Like in case of these days, software industry, it has a good outlook. But in case we think about any other industry, then the future may look like a little bleak. Like in case of telecom, as of now in India, we definitely feel there is a place for new players. So we must see whether the industry uh, is having a space, means it's a blue ocean or a red ocean. Red ocean means it is almost saturated. Blue ocean means there is still space for new ventures, new players. Next, we have the present demand. We must see whether there is a demand of our product or service currently, and whether there is going to be future demand also of it or not. Then requirement of equipment. What all equipment we require for manufacturing of product or delivering the service. Then raw material requirement, labor requirement. Labor, we must say that labor is available of right quality, in right numbers, and at appropriate and reasonable cost. Then transportation facility is another very important point, and break-even point we should be able to calculate as to when are we going to achieve our break-even point. Now, fourth, we go on to the legal aspects. In legal aspects, as I've already mentioned earlier, that we must apply for registration of partnership firm or incorporation of the company. And in this, we've already said that there is a sole proprietorship, partnership, company, LLP. These aspects we have discussed. This is very simple. But if we go on to decide about the company, then company's incorporation is a little complex. The company's incorporation here I would discuss in detail. It requires, incorporation requires an application to the MCA, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, on the pro forma, that is SPICE. SPICE, we say simplified pro forma for incorporating company electronically, that is INC 32. Along with this, INC 33, EMOA, and INC 34 form EAOA is also required. Then for incorporation, we also have OPC, one-person company, wherein only one member can incorporate, but there are two riders on it, that the one person, the nominee, he has to nominate a nominee. The founder, the director, one person will have to detail a nominee. And there are two riders. One, the nominee may withdraw his consent, and second is that the founder or the director can change the nominee at any time. So these are the two important aspects in this. Then we must decide whether the company is going to be limited by shares or limited by guarantee, and or it is going to be unlimited company. Then the application needs to be submitted to the CRC, that is Central Registration Center, and along with this, the MOA signed by this all subscribers is required to be furnished. Then there is some declaration required by CA and director, both of them. That is, the declaration would be ensuring that all the requirement of this act and the rules have been complied with while applying for the incorporation of the company. And the declaration has to be by the first director, all the directors, and then also by the chartered accountant or the advocate or the cost accountant or the company secretary, whosoever is incorporating, is assisting the directors or the founders in incorporating the company. Then an affidavit by first director and subscriber to MOA is required, that wherein he or she is going to tell that he or she has not been found guilty of any fraud or misdemeanor or any breach of duty during the preceding 5 years. So then another aspect, that is proof of address is required to be given, and then proof of identity is required to be given, wherein the particulars of name, surname, family name, residential address, nationality, all any such other information is asked for regarding the proof of identity. Then DIN is to be furnished, the director's identification number, and next, the interest of the persons in other forms has to be disclosed here, whether the directors have their interest in any other company, that is required to be as a part of disclosure, is required to be disclosed here. Then based on, after all these documents have been submitted to CRC, after going through the correctness of these documents, after verifying these documents, the CRC will issue a certificate of incorporation in the prescribed format. And while issuing this, the CRC will allot the company a CIN, corporate identity number. And so therefore, now we can see MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, provides you these kind of services which are essential for any company when it is being incorporated, like name of the company, CIN, its corporate identity number, then date of incorporation. Then it is also going to help you in getting your PAN number, then TAN number, then GSTN, then ESIC and EPFO membership. So all these requirements are services are being provided currently by MCA for the companies that are being incorporated by the directors oblique founders. Now, last part we go on to the that is the financials, plant layout, production, and marketing. Now, financial plan must in this one must ensure that wherever you have applied for finances, it must be follow-up must be done, and bank account at this stage must be opened in the name of company. Then the founder must place order for machinery at this stage, apply for utility services, for example, power, water supply, fire safety, and any other statutory clearances that may be required in terms of the product or services they are manufacturing or delivery. Next, we are required to ensure that at this stage, plant layout for machinery is worked out. That is in the shed, how the plant is going to be laid out, installed. Machinery is going to be installed. And this is based on minimum movement of workers and material handling. That is in terms of machinery and operations, minimum distance must be traveled. Next, we have that is make sure that raw material, if any part is required to be used for the product or service in the service delivery, then, and if it is imported, we must apply for import license and provisioning of the such raw material. Next, we should start recruiting personnel to fill up the vacancies and buy raw material. Now we should carry out the trial run at this stage and quality measurement. And then also we should work out about the policy in terms of pricing, and then organize marketing of the product or services. And we must ensure simultaneously that all account keeping is done as per the established norms. The company secretary or the accountant should be able to, chartered accountant should be able to work out and prepare financial statement and annual return. Then now at this stage, we are completely ready and organized, well organized for commercial production. Here I come to an end. These are the references. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.